Nanalse. We don't summarize books. We extract their spirit.
We think that the conflict is over because we have stopped. But the threat does not disappear when we stop you. It disappears only when it loses the ability to return.
The worst mistakes don't happen when you lose. They happen when you think you've won. Because some enemies don't need a victory. It is enough for them just to stay alive.
Sometimes, a single decision is enough for an entire empire to vanish from the map years later. And that decision was not a declaration of war. It was the massacre of a caravan. The year 1218. On the fringes of Central Asia, a caravan of nearly 450 merchants arrived at the walls of the city. They carried no army. They carried no weapons. They brought goods and a message of peace from a man who had only just begun to unite the Mongolian steppes under one name: Genghis Khan.
But the ruler of Otrar saw something else. Wealth without protection, and an opportunity that would never come again. He ordered them all to be killed, one by one.
And then he seized everything they carried. At that moment, the war had not yet begun, but the countdown to the fall of an entire empire had begun.
Why didn't Genghis Khan treat what happened as a routine incident? Because he understood what most leaders miss. An enemy that is humiliated but not eliminated returns, becoming more cautious, not less hostile.
If he had limited himself to punishing Otrar alone, the Khwarezmian Empire would have remained standing, capable of taking action. Having learned only one lesson, Genghis Khan could be provoked without paying the full price. Therefore, he was not planning a battle. He was planning to eliminate the very possibility of a future battle. He gathered a massive army and then divided it into multiple fronts, moving simultaneously toward the heart of the Khwarezmian Empire.
The target was not a single city. The target was every city capable of becoming a rebirth point for the threat.
The first to fall was the city where it all began.
Otrar whose ruler had massacred the caravan, did not last long against the force he had provoked. But this was not just revenge against a single city. It was the first proof that Genghis Khan's resolve knew no exceptions.
Every city that fell afterward knew that the fate of Otrar was not an isolated incident. It was the beginning of a pattern that would repeat itself again and again.
For Otrar, the campaign no longer just advanced. It began to sweep away everything in its path.
Samarkand, the fortified capital that many considered impregnable, fell within days before the sheer scale of the force unleashed upon it. In every city, the same pattern repeated. Not just a military victory, but the elimination of any capacity to rise again.
Next came the turn of Bukhara, one of the greatest centers of learning and trade in the Islamic world at the time. The city fell with unexpected speed. It did not resist for long. In the event of an attack threat, signal drums were beaten Alderdand.
History does not tell us what we ought to do. It reveals the price paid by the one who chose this path.
It was not revenge. Revenge seeks a sense of relief. But what Genghis Khan did sought something else entirely, the impossibility of return.
He did not ask, "Have I punished them enough?" He asked, "Is there anything left that can threaten me from this direction again?" The Khwarezmian Empire, which only a few years prior had been one of the greatest powers in Asia, no longer existed as a political force. No one was left who could reorganize its ranks to one day seek revenge. That, and that alone, was the true goal. History does not tell us what we ought to do. It reveals the price paid by the one who chose this path.
If you leave your enemy the ability to return, you have not ended the conflict. The law becomes clear. And that is why Robert Greene formulated it in the 48 Laws of Power as the 15th law.
Crush your enemy totally. Because a wounded enemy is not a destroyer. It is an enemy who now knows how to lose and is waiting for the opportunity not to lose again. Half-hearted resolve is not resolve. It is a postponed invitation. Yet every total victory carries a price left unmentioned in the moment of triumph. When all surrounding power is erased, a vacuum is created.
And the one who fills that vacuum is not always less dangerous than the one who was removed. This does not invalidate the law. It merely reminds us that total victory does not purchase peace. It only pushes the question onto another generation.
We face this not only in war. We face this when we end an argument without actually resolving it, believing that silence means peace. We face this when we stop confronting a problem merely because it has ceased to show on the surface. How many times have you thought a problem was over,
while it was simply waiting? Perhaps the conflict never ended. Perhaps it was you who simply stopped.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.